What up, and welcome to the Grizzly Guy, the segment where I talk about character origins and classic storylines from our favorite comics. I'm Mean Joe Grizzly, your historian of heroes, observer of multiverses, sage of stories, and more importantly, your friendly neighborhood comic nerd. And with the remake of The Crow releasing later this week, I'm going to begin a 3-part series to cover the classic story that it's based on. But before we dive into the comic multiverse, please make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications to the channel so you don't miss more episodes of the Grizzly Guide, as well as the other forms of badassery that I offer. And please make sure to follow me on all social media platforms by clicking the links in the description below. So let's immerse ourselves into the dark and dread-filled world of The Crow. Released in January 1989 by Caliber Comics, The Crow was written and drawn by James O'Barr, and it was an instant classic. O'Barr wrote The Crow as a means of dealing with a heavy loss. You see, prior to The Crow's inception, O'Barr's fiancée was killed by a drunk driver, and using the pain of loss, along with some heavy inspiration from an article in a Detroit newspaper about a couple being murdered over a $20 wedding ring, O'Barr poured all of his pain, despair, anger, and torment into this story. And you can feel every single bit of it on every single page. This story is not for the faint of heart, so if you struggle with depression of any kind, this might not be the story for you. So with that warning out of the way, let's begin our story. Inertia. Our story begins with a man leaving an apartment by way of the window with a VCR under his arm. The man, known as Jones, begins monologuing about how he was going to cash it in for a lot of money at a pawn shop, and how the true owners of it made him sick because they couldn't afford to feed their kids, but they had a nice Toshiba VCR. As he exits the alley, he stops in confusion as he sees a kid's tricycle roll in front of him with no driver attached to it. He moves the tricycle out of the way, but is startled by a shadowy figure in a trench coat, wearing full white and black face makeup. The sudden jar causes him to drop the stolen VCR, smashing it into pieces. The shadowy figure speaks. "Do I have your attention, Mr. Jones?" Jones responds, "Attention? Man, you scared the crap out of me. Damn, you just cost me $100, pal. I think you better cough up some cash." The shadowy figure responds, "Shelby the Giant said you know T-Bird." Jones ignores him and pulls out a switchblade and says, "Come on, man, money man, now." The shadowy figure continues, "Tom Tom, top dollar, fun boy, 10-10. Jones interrupts, "That's it. You're all done," as he stabs the man in the chest. The shadowy figure doesn't even flinch as Jones steps back and says, "Man, you must be dusted not to feel that." The shadowy figure responds, "Pain. I know pain at the molecular level. It pulls at my atoms, sings to me in an alphabet of fear. I am the boiling man. Come to break your bones of your sins, meat puppet." The shadowy figure pulls the switchblade from his chest, licks the blade clean, and hands it back to Jones and says, "Try again." Shivering in fear, Jones answers, I think I'll pass." The man asks Jones again, "T-Bird and the others, where are they?" Shelby the Giant didn't know. He said you would, Jones answered. "Shelby wouldn't roll on me, man." The man, "Oh, he told. It took 3 digits, but he told," as he brandishes a pair of bolt cutters. Jones says, "You lied." The man responds, "I would have brought the fingers as documentation, but he had to eat them also." Beginning to be overwhelmed with fear, Jones cowers before the man and states, "Oh man, T-Bird will kill me sure. Kill me sure if I told." The man, now smiling maniacally, holds the bolt cutters up in front of his face and asks, "Fingers or toes?" as he snips the bolt cutters at Jones. As the fear of losing appendages overcomes Jones, he would fold and begin to disclose the info that this shadowy figure desired. Okay. I ain't seen T-Bird or 10-10 in weeks, but Tom Tom's down on Garrote and 10. Top has a place at the Hotel Reno on Schaefer. Fun boy in the country till the 27th. "Are you going to kill me now?" The man responds, "Why, Mr. Jones, I already count you among the dead." The man then turns and looks up at the lamppost behind him and exclaims, "Look, it's a full moon." It was a full moon that night, too. Jones responds, "That's a street light, ghost man. You a loon, man." The man then grabs Jones by his face and says, "Tell them I'm coming, Mr. Jones." The man begins to walk away and says, "Mr. Jones?" As Jones is sitting on the sidewalk overcome with fear. Yes, sir?" The man asks, "Are there spots on a leopard's eyes, too?" We then cut to a dreamlike place where a train is speeding over the tracks with a beautiful white horse running alongside of it. The man, now sitting in the train with no makeup on, is watching in fascination at the gorgeous animal keeping pace with the train. But suddenly the horse is violently tangled in a barbed wire fence as the man looks on in horror. The man begins to cry as the crow sits on the back of his seat, and the crow says, "You shouldn't have looked, boy." Then suddenly they are met by a ghostly conductor that leans down in front of them and says, "Tickets, please." The man with tears in his eyes looks up in disbelief as the crow asks him, "Well?" Book 1, Pain. We are out to Detroit. It's midnight. The shadowy figure wrapped in a trench coat is walking in the pouring rain through the ghetto on a dead-end street to a forgotten house. It is a cold, rainy October night, and hell sent an angel bearing gifts. He enters the house and reflects on the nightmarish memories of that night, the night he lost everything. He begins to hear voices that he hasn't heard in a year, but they are still ringing loudly. He hears gunshots, a girl crying, sobbing, and begging. He could not help her, and he could not remember why, but he remembers the men's voices, and he hears their names. 1010, Fun Boy, T-Bird, Top Dollar, and Tom Tom. Those names and sounds sink into his heart like ice and burns in his head with so much intensity that it glows white as he stares out the rain-drenched window. We then cut to a shady street in the city. Two thugs are selling a revolver to one of our man's targets, 1010. They present a gun to him and he looks over it while asking, "How much?" One of the thugs answers, $100. 1010 responds, "Let's see how it works." He points the gun and pulls the trigger, killing an innocent old lady that was walking down the street minding her own business. The two thugs are outraged at the random act of violence by 1010 and telling him that he is going to bring the police down on them. 1010 responds, "Remember that bad pony you stuck me with? You out." As he shoots one of the thugs in the head, the other thug takes off running for his life. 1010 raises the gun and says, "And Top says you've been rolling in his district," and shoots the other thug in the back. 1010 walks down a nearby alley and is met by our ghastly avenger. "Hello, 1010. Remember me?" 1010 raises the revolver towards the man and responds, "No, I don't. What you all painted up for, boy?" The man responds, "A funeral march." 1010 responds, "Your own." 1010 opens fire on the man, grazing him on the side of his head, but the man also opens fire with a gun concealed in his coat pocket, hitting 1010 in the forearm and causing him to drop his gun. The man stands over 1010 and points the revolver towards him. The man says, "Rejoice to the full of the glory that is about to be yours." 1010 lying on the ground with the blood pouring from the gunshot wound in his arm. "Who are you?" The man kneels down, backing 1010 up against the wall, continuing his dark sermon. "And give thanks to the Lord God who has called you to his kingdom." 1010 responds, "Man, I don't even know you." The man then gets closer. "A year ago, a cold October night, a broken down car on a dirt road, a man, a girl, madness, pain, and shadows. My God, the shadows. You. T-Bird said you was dead." The man responds, "Am I not?" The crow looks on the scene and begins to squawk. Don't look. Don't look. 1010 says, T-Bird done it. He had the gun. As 1010 continues to plead, the man begins to have flashes of memories from the past. A memory of a wall in his house and a woman speaking to him saying, This place is really starting to shape up, isn't it, Eric? The man, now identified as Eric, responds, Oh, sure, 14 more coats of paint and the housing authority might just approve it. The memory fades slightly as Eric continues to interrogate 1010. And the girl? 1010 responds, Man, she was out cold by the time I got to her. The crow squawks again. Don't look. Don't look, as the memory returns. The woman says, Oh, you're just so funny, wise ass. I happen to think it looks very nice. Very nice. The memories begin to shuffle through Eric's mind of him and the woman embracing each other, clearly in love, a love that was snuffed out abruptly and violently. The memories fade once again, and his focus returns to 1010, pleading and trying to bargain with Eric, but to no avail. There will be no forgiveness tonight. 1010 says, We was all high, it just happened. I got connections, I could fix you up. Eric responds, Your soul rots, it festers, but fear not. 1010 says, I'm talking to you, man, you can't. Eric raises the gun under the chin of 1010. Eric says, I have medicine. Eric pulls the trigger and kills 1010. Eric stands up and looks down the lifeless body of 1010. May God grant you the mercy that I cannot. Eric retires to his old dark house where he looks at pictures of him and the woman scattered upon the floor. He stares out the window and enters a daydream. Eric is trapped behind a barbed wire fence staring at a woman on the other side. There's a man playing a violin. The woman would face Eric, revealing a haunting skull instead of a beautiful face, as Eric looks on in horror, and the strings are the nerves in his own arm, a twisted soul, the mortar, despair, the bricks. We cut to a flash of memory from that night, Eric laying face down in a pool of his own blood, looking on in horror, the crow standing before Eric squawking at him, Don't look, Eric, don't look. To build a temple to sadness. Eric ties a spent shell into his hair. Number 1. The rain pours down as Eric stares into the night. We then cut to a dark room somewhere in the city. A group of thugs sits around a table counting their drug earnings and their supply. One thug says, Something blew his head off, Top Dollar. We think you should look into it. Top Dollar responds, Are you dictating to me, Sanchez? Sanchez says, Looks like you ain't in control. Another one of the thugs backs up Sanchez and says, Nah, Top. He just saying it looks bad on you. Top Dollar would stand up and shout, Shut up. This is my outfit, my dope, and my neighborhood. My word is the law. The floor is now open for opposing viewpoints. Suddenly one of the thugs hears something outside the window. Hey, something's moving out there. We cut to a view of Eric sitting on the ledge outside the window, eavesdropping on Top Dollar and his thugs, brandishing a revolver in his hand. One thug looks out the window and sees Eric on the ledge. Who the hell are you? Eric responds, Santa Claus. Eric points the revolver at the thug's head, pulls the trigger, and blows the thug's brains out. And you've all been very bad this year. Eric repels into the room and begins taking out the thugs one by one while taunting them. He shoots Sanchez in the chest. Sanchez says, Blood. Bulletproof vest not work. Blood. Eric says, Poor soul. One not need to suffer so. Eric finishes the job while the other thugs scramble to gather their weapons and fight back. This be mine, man. No way Sanchez be laying on yours. This be a 44. That's mine. Top Dollar. Shoot him. Somebody shoot him. Eric stands over the thugs and continues to taunt them. And what might your name be, Mr. 44 caliber? They calls me Mad Jack. Remember that. Eric responds, Oh, a poet. Mad Jack. I shall remember that. Eric shoots him and then continues to shoot up the entire room. The thugs scream out in panic. Look out! Look out! I'm hit! I'm hit! Top Dollar stands up and shakily points the gun at Eric, but Eric kicks the gun out of his hand and sends Top Dollar to the floor. Eric, laughing maniacally, smiles while standing over Top Dollar. Drowning men. Hiding under the table, Mad Jack scampers to pick up his gun, but in the process knocks over a bottle that rolled off the table and brings it to the attention of Eric. Eric stands over Mad Jack and continues to taunt him. Mad Jack, you sport a vest also? No honor among thieves? Mad Jack responds, I'm gonna cap you, man. Mad Jack points his gun at Eric and fires, but Eric flawlessly dodges the shot. You gotta hit me first, Jack. Eric begins another dark sermon. Down with the lambs, up with the lark. Run to bed, children, before it gets dark. When sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions. I've allies in heaven, Jack. I've comrades in hell. Say hello for me. Eric executes Mad Jack and turns his attention to Top Dollar. Well, well, Top, you're the only one still wasting good air. We do not die of death. We die of vertigo. Around and round the sun we go, the moon goes around the earth. All that remains is Eric and Top Dollar. Eric approaches Top Dollar as he looks on in horror. He squats down to Top Dollar's level, grabs the overhead light, tilting it towards his face. Do you remember? Look close, Top. A man and a girl. Top Dollar responds, Look, pal, I don't know what this is all about, but if I've done you wrong, I'll square it up. There's $5,000 in the dresser over there. Take it and go. We'll forget about all this. Man, take the dope too. There's almost a half a key left. Worth $10,000 easy. Eric grabs a handful of cocaine and lets it spill through his fingers. You would barter your life with chemicals? Infuriated, Top Dollar screams at Eric. You are an idiot! Eric continues to remind him of that night. A 71 Plymouth. Top Dollar interrupts. I offer you $15,000, you act like it don't mean nothing? Eric continues. The girl, her name was Shelley. It started to rain. Top Dollar interrupts again. You ain't even listening, man. You're a friggin' nut. You gonna shoot me? Come on, shoot, you worthless punk. Eric continues. Do you remember? Top Dollar responds. Yeah. I remember the car and the broad. So what? Eric responds. So this. Eric shoots Top Dollar in the face, destroying his eye but not killing him. Clinging to life, Top Dollar responds. You can go to hell. Eric responds. I've been waiting for a guy to take me by the hand. Eric pulls back the hammer on the revolver, points it at Top Dollar, and shoots him dead. We cut to a neighbor in the building talking to the police in the aftermath of the shooting. So I heard these big boots going clunk, clunk, clunk down the hall. I looks out thinking it's them damn hoodlums again, but there's this 7-foot vampire like Dracula or something just floating down the hall. He's head to toe in black, and his skin's as white as ashes, and his hair's sticking all up like he's a haystack. Funny thing is, all the cats in the building is following him like he was a ghost or something. Then he turned to me and smiled and said real polite like, Evening, ma'am. We cut to the street with Eric walking home with a bottle of champagne in one hand and a bouquet of flowers in the other, and we are treated with a narration. In the city where angels fear to hover and devils come to crone, the sex of the night lets down the black necrotic hair under a yellow opium moon. Here a shadow of a shadow, and earthbound ghost shivers, not from October chill, but in erotic pain. He says to his dead lover, We should never have come here, with flesh so soft and hearts so unwise, but like tigers in tall, tall grass, like Christ in the garden of Gethsemane, we sucked in all our fear and we came here. Now all the atrocities are replayed like a late, late show. We came here, but we never should have stayed. Though we had inertia and radius and depth, we took the last train with velocity and passed over our own deaths. So the crow spirals down through a collapsed dream, and the only sound he makes is like a concave scream. We cut to Eric's house, where he has created a makeshift candlelit dinner on the floor of the living room, and he's holding a big present in his arms, and Eric is talking to his dead fiancée, Shelley. "I have a present for you, Shelley." He opens up the present, and inside is one of the cats from the apartment building. "His name is Gabriel. You always wanted a cat." Tears pour down Eric's face. "Happy anniversary, Shelley." He begins to flash back to memories of the night that he asked Shelley to marry him. Then suddenly he enters a white void where he once again is approached by the crow, and where he has to relive that fateful night once again. The crow says, "Eric, hey Eric, you don't want to see this again, boy. Let's go." Eric is caught up in the ecstasy of Shelley's embrace until a revolver is pointed to the back of Shelley's head. The crow states, "Okay, here's where you smile. Now the eternal love part." The trigger is pulled and Shelley's body falls lifeless. Idiot, you never listen. The wielder of the revolver is the same skeleton from the previous vision, but this time he's wearing Eric's tuxedo. "Nice suit, eh, kid?" The vision ends. Eric screams and pounds his head against the wall until a phantom fire truck races across his vision. All he wants is pain. Pain and hate, yes, hate, but never fear. Fear is for the enemy. Fear and bullets. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of the Grizzly Guide and part 1 of my 3-part series on this legendary story. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss future episodes of the Grizzly Guide and all the forms of badassery that I offer. So until next time, remember, comics are for everyone.